As we head into the 2024 election, a critical question hangs in the air. Is Donald Trump the same leader he was in 2016? While some of his supporters appreciate his confrontational style and willingness to challenge norms, critics argue that Trump's recent behavior reveals a shift toward unpredictability and fixation on personal grievances. The person who once presented himself as a voice for the forgotten American now often focuses on past grievances, public criticisms, and a long list of perceived enemies. Observers note a change in his public appearances, with his speeches sometimes fragmenting into incoherent phrases, punctuated by long pauses and a fixation on music and theatrics. In 2016, Trump captured attention as a non-traditional candidate, a businessman who promised to bring law and order and economic growth. But today, he often appears more concerned with airing personal grudges than communicating a clear vision for the future. Trump's appeal remains strong among those who see him as a leader who's unafraid to speak his mind or insult opponents. Yet even some of his former supporters express unease over his impulsive behavior, viewing it as a potential liability in a role that demands stability and consistency. The commander-in-chief's position is one where decisions impact millions and can alter global alliances. Any unpredictability risks far-reaching consequences, and voters are beginning to question if this shift is a sign of evolving priorities or deeper instability. A crucial aspect of Trump's appeal is his assertiveness. Many supporters appreciate his strong stance on issues, viewing him as a disruptor who challenges the status quo. But others fear his confrontational approach could deepen political divides. Take, for example, his remarks about firing Special Counsel Jack Smith or dismissing certain cases against him. His statements not only suggest an unyielding desire for personal retribution, but hint at a disregard for democratic processes. Even his criticism of federal agencies and the judiciary leaves some wondering how he might use or even abuse such institutions to protect his interests if reelected. For those watching closely, Trump's recent admiration for Viktor Orban, Hungary's prime minister, raises concerns about his democratic intentions. Orban, initially elected democratically, moved swiftly to consolidate power, reducing press freedoms, limiting judiciary independence, and curbing opposition voices. Many fear Trump could be inspired to take a similar path. The American system has withstood tests, but critics argue that a second Trump term could strain it in unprecedented ways. Supporters of Kamala Harris, on the other hand, argue that her approach offers the stability and transparency essential for a thriving democracy. They see her as a candidate who respects the diversity of opinions within the nation, valuing dialogue over division. To them, Harris represents not only an alternative, but a reaffirmation of democratic ideals, open debate, transparent governance, and a commitment to respecting differences without retaliation. In a rare moment of unity, some traditional Republicans and Democrats have come together in support of Harris, setting aside policy differences to prioritize the survival of democratic norms. Figures from across the political spectrum have voiced concerns that Trump's style of governance risks slipping into authoritarianism. For these unlikely allies, the stakes of this election go beyond policy. They view it as a defense of democracy itself. They argue that any democracy requires leaders who uphold the rule of law and respect the public trust. Voters are now at a crossroads, facing a choice between two contrasting visions for America's future. On one side, a return to the era of unpredictability in self-focused governance. On the other, a leader whose approach promises accountability and stability. Harris supporters contend that, with her, Americans won't face retaliation for dissenting views or fear erosion of their freedoms. In a democracy, the ability to challenge, criticize, and vote against leaders without repercussion is fundamental. This election, they argue, is about preserving those rights. For those who admire Trump's assertive approach, there's a certain appeal in his bluntness and willingness to break from political correctness. Yet critics counter that this bold style can, at times, cross the line into recklessness, which could jeopardize key international relationships. Imagine, for instance, a scenario in which Trump's impulsive remarks strain alliances with NATO or other allies. The stability of global partnerships often relies on diplomacy, and any lack of consistency could weaken these ties. In a world facing climate change, economic crises, in geopolitical tensions, stability in leadership is critical. Closing thoughts. As Americans prepare to cast their votes, this election underscores a significant decision: the choice between maintaining democratic norms and embracing a path that could fundamentally alter the nation's values. Voters must ask themselves which vision aligns with the America they want: a leader committed to accountability or one who may prioritize personal grievances. Each ballot cast in 2024 represents a voice in a larger conversation about America's future.